It's Thursday night in my creative space, shared with Jamie, so there's her side in the dark, sort of. So what's been going on is here, let me show you what I've been doing. I've got my fancy LED strip in the back of the TV now. So I sit in here with YouTube on, and I've been doing art instruction. Not that I've been instructing, I'm receiving the instruction. And the joy of YouTube art instruction is it can be very good. It can also be very maddening in that there's a lot of competing points of view. And I think that's true of like anything really anything on the internet at all, but we're just going to keep us focused on YouTube at the moment. So what I mean by that is somebody will say, all right, here's the best way to draw a face. And another person will put up their video and say, no, this is the best way to draw a face. And another person will put another video and say, don't draw any faces ever. And then somebody else will say, not even faces, like you should draw inanimate objects, or you should draw a theory, or you should do something else, and And it just, sooner or later you have to make a decision. So I made a decision, as it's literally staring back at you. I was trying to do portraits, and I haven't done those in many, many years. And it's not like I was awesome at it to begin with, but so many years have gone by from doing all that I'm not like in practice with it. And that's probably a good thing in that now's the chance to kind of like learn some new stuff, even at my tender old age. Which is to say, compared to these 20-year-olds or whatever on YouTube and stuff. So what I did, because I wasn't happy with how the portrait stuff was going, is I think it was like typical me. I was trying to do too much too soon. And I thought, okay, I'm going to pick one thing and focus on it. And my one thing I chose to focus on was eyes. And Jamie can't stand it. She says she doesn't like things with eyes, and I counter that she bought googly eyes for our vacuum. So, but somebody on Facebook said, well, you should draw her eyes, because I was drawing other people's eyes. So to rewind a little bit, as I said, I watch YouTube. So here's D'Angelo Wallace. Now he tends to be wearing glasses, so I had to kind of like extrapolate his eyes while he's talking about internet drama. And then there's, in fact, I just was watching one of his videos, Muhammad Agbadi. The only thing with him is his accent's so thick that he oftentimes subtitles, I've noticed, which is helpful, but the problem is if I'm trying to like have it on his background, then it can really turn to mud in the background. Then good old Proco. And what I did was I made notes of, like with D'Angelo, he was talking and I didn't pause the video. I just tried to draw his eye while he was in motion. I paused Muhammad Agbadi, paused Proco, and then Chloe Rose is another one, so I paused her to try that out. And had varying degrees of success. And then one of my former coworkers posted something on Facebook of a selfie, so I thought, well, this is a good expressive eye. I'm going to try that out. Somebody was reading a slip of paper in a video, in a D'Angelo Wallace video, so I was trying to get that not quite closed look in the eye, and it really didn't work out all that well. And then here's D'Angelo again, slightly better. So then somebody said no, do Jamie's eyes, so I did one of hers. And I'm really amazed at this. Now, this is not great. I mean, it's all relative. Compared to some kind of stick figure eyes or something, then sure. But there's artists that blow this completely out of the water, and that's just how it goes. But you got to start somewhere. Well, by fixating on one thing, so either eyes. You notice I'm not fixating on just like only right eyes or only left eyes, but just one eye. Well, it really does make you focus, and it's just incidental that it's eyes I'm doing. I said someday I'm going to do noses, and that's going to really, like, that's going to be my personal hang up. I really don't like solo noses on the page, but sooner or later I'm going to have to do it. If I'm going to sharpen my skills and learn things, I've got to do that stuff. Well, my youngest stepdaughter put up a selfie on Facebook, and she tends to filter her pictures to the nth degree, to the point where, just like with YouTubers, it's very hard to draw their eyes because they tend to blast themselves with frontal light, which I'm not doing in this video. Or if I am, you wouldn't know it. Well, I was like, no, I can make out her eye socket. And if I can do that, then I think I can work with stuff, because I'll have landmarks of what to go on instead of just like this blank sheet. And she was really laying on the false eyelashes and the eyeliner and the whole 10 yards here. I'm like, well, so what? Do it anyway. See if you work on the shapes. Because again, these are things I picked up from people like Ethan Becker and Sycra and Cynics and Proco and all these different people. And their thing is like, well, Becker is big into learn your shapes, but for different reasons. Sycra has a tendency, I really don't want to like mess up, but you can see it where I did it here. So this is my older stepdaughter of the two. So they're the two sisters. She has the Sycra triangle. Whereas Jamie, I was looking at her picture, I'm like, no, she's almost got like a hexagon. It's somewhere between a pentagon and a hexagon. And then Megan's got, I don't know, maybe a parallelogram. It's not a triangle. At least not in this specific photo. And again, it's heavily filtered, so it's hard to kind of know. Well, but I'm glad I got that instruction, though, to pay attention to these different shapes and not like to rough it in and cheat and whatever. And there's nothing wrong with using shapes because, I mean, hello, drawing. But it really, like with Steph, her eyebrows are very faint. And so you have to find other landmarks to know what you're drawing. Well, I sent a picture of this to Meg. And she said, well, even though you caption these, I could tell just by looking at it who was who. So it's pretty crazy. So Jamie was saying, oh my God, it's bad enough that you're drawing eyes, which I can't stand. Then it's people that I know, or in this case gave birth to. Like, they're all judging me. Well, so then Megan sent me another photo to use. And she said, well, this should be more challenging. So she I think colored her eyelids black, I think is the deal. And then it seems like some false eyelash action going on. She's wearing a lot of, eyeliner and or eyeshadow all in here. And so I have the photo. Let's see if I can do this gracefully. I mean, this can be the joy of editing. All right, so here we go. There's the photo she sent, or at least it's zoomed in because I'm just fixating on the one part of it. And then here's my take on it. My gripe with it, of mine, is that you see the angle of her eye going this way, and I didn't really get there. I guess if I turn my notepad, it's... But the point is, like, I could just imagine my old art teacher having a fit about, no, like if the angle was this, you should have got the angle like that, and I shouldn't have to turn the paper. Well, one thing that's my new best friend is my kneaded eraser, and boy, does this thing get a workout. I have a really bad habit of accepting the default. So here's an example. Here's this remote control, and it's black because Roku included it in the box, and it's black, and so it will always be black because why wouldn't it be? Then somebody on their DIY channel is going to come along, and they're going to like make it purple and pink and whatever with sequins and blah, 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 and all this stuff that I just wouldn't thought to do because it's not the default, okay? Well, in this instance, with this photo that I'm working off of, which is key. It's another Ethan Becker thing. He's ranting and raving about don't ever work without reference. And while I'm on that subject real fast, so this is from imagination. So I had no model in front of me at all. Or no reference. I just drew the shape of the eye as I know it to be, and kind of worked out some details like flyaway eyelashes and different little bits of, eyelid action and shading and whatever. And I've been really concentrating on capturing like reflection in the eyes to show that it's a reflective surface. I tend to like protect this to a fault. And then I realized that, I have this eraser. And what I do is I break off little pieces of it, and you just need a little bit. And this thing amazingly erases into like whatever. This is just a number 2 pencil from Dollar Tree. I'm not using my fancy stuff, which is great because this stuff's costs more than this stuff. So, like on a dollar per dollar thing, this is something like 18 cents in my hand versus several dollars just for one pencil. And they go quick when you sharpen them. Well, Kirsty Partridge, I'm just going to name drop just about everybody today, I swear, had a video, sure enough, about, it's not about the tools and spending lots of money on your art supplies. It's about, basically, how are you using them? Are you learning things? Are you doing different techniques and, applying the fundamentals and because if you fixate on all these tools or toys and everything, you're going to lose sight of actual, well, not just talent, but skill. I think that there really is a blend here of, well, not necessarily here, but the point is like it's a blend of talent and skill. Talent is doing this well. Like, I don't know how to put it, so I guess we'll say it's the je ne sais quoi, right? Whereas this just as easily is skill. I went from not being very good at this. In fact, let me get to that page, shall we? I'm trying to keep this as short a video as I can and trying not to blather on forever, as I know that I don't have a whole lot of interest here. So this is what I used to do in high school, and I have this muscle memory from all the times I did this. And this is modeled after my cat's eye, and it was for a fictional character I made up. And then this, of course, is good old human eyes. And as you can see, this is an older take on it, and so it's not as good as this. So here they are side by side, and they're comparable in that they're pencil drawings and I did them. But you can just kind of see, like, I'm putting more detail in and getting things more right now than I was here. And this is about a week apart. And then this is one that I just whipped up, like I wasn't using a reference. I just kind of whipped something up, and I've got some cheap charcoal pencils, and I love them. So again, here's high school now. So I really have been putting a lot of work into this. And it's very much trial and error, but that's art. And so, again, I'm kind of down on myself that these angles aren't quite right, and as much eye isn't showing as is in the picture. Well, what I've been learning to do is, well, then erase. Erase until it's what you want it to be looking like. I'm going for realism here. Now, again, I'm not going to hit Kirsty Partridge realism yet, because I'm just not to that level yet. I don't know when I will be. I mean, I presume if I stick with this, then someday I'll get to that level. But the results I'm seeing in such a short amount of time by applying what I'm learning directly and indirectly from these different videos is very encouraging. And so part of what I want to say to people with this video, other than blathering, is, the reason for this space is it's our space to be creative and try different things out. Yes, I write books. No, I'm not going to plug them to death here because I'm just not going to. Instead, because I really want this to be about what I'm talking about right now, And the books came from doing adult coloring books. And then I started writing instead, which, writing is completely different than doing adult coloring. And this is completely different than writing books in adult coloring. But all of it is the same in that it's a creative endeavor. One thing that happened last night when I was drawing this, I was really going at it. Whoa, what is that about? Okay. I was really going at it, drawing this. And I had that magical sense of shifting brain halves, and I went to the right brain. And it's like the runner's high, except for creatives. And, I get it doing writing too, but it's different because it's a different activity. And with that, you have a tendency to be kind of editing on the fly or worrying about fingers hitting the right keys. And I'm not a typist. And so I have that added handicap, I guess. Whereas with this, I was just so in the zone and working it, and it was just, I went into that shift, and it was like, oh yeah, because that's something I hadn't felt in a long time, and I love that feeling. And so that's why I keep these creative endeavors flowing and try different stuff, up to and including when Jamie and I were messing around with our nail polish, where we were each trying different designs on all that. It has nothing to do with me wanting to wear nail polish, because I so don't. But it wasn't the point. The point was experiment, try new things, try different designs. It's a new canvas. And so now I've got my sketch pads and my number 2 pencil. And so now the new challenge is go for realism in just an eye. And then eventually it's going to be just a nose, and eventually just a mouth from different angles. So I'm not fixated on just one vantage point. Like this is, I don't just draw forward-facing eyes all the time and nothing else. It's just what I'm currently working on right now. But I'll close with this statement. So Charlie Parker was saying that when he learned how to play 2 songs in 12 keys, that he knew he was ready to be in a jazz band. And then he went on to become a legend. So it's not that I feel like I have to draw an eye in every single medium, and that's not my goal. But when I have the fundamentals down of drawing an eye, and if I can draw something reasonably realistic just from imagination, which I know isn't necessarily ideal depending on who you are and what your axe to grind is. But if I can do something, I guess we'll say passably well. I don't want to sell myself short as to what I'm trying to attempt here. But if I can draw something that's a reasonably good likeness from whatever angle, and demonstrate an understanding of the object, in this case the eye, I will then move on to nose, I will then move on to mouth, I will then move on to ears, and then eventually I'll move on to the whole face. Because the thing about it is, to do this is going to take hours. It doesn't look like it just seems like something like, it's just an eye. I mean, how hard can that be? Well, it's very hard. If you're going for realism, you know what you're going to do? You're going to do this. Again, this is not a bad start, right? But this isn't realistic. It's not, partly it's not from a reference, so it can't really be realistic because we don't know where the shadows are, we don't know where the light source is, we don't know what's going on, who this even is. But even if I sit on this for 2 days and come back, I'm going to start realizing, there's stuff missing. There's lines missing, there's shading missing, there's detail missing, this pupil is not right, the eye's the wrong shape, this is wrong, that's wrong, and erase, and fix, and rework, and get it to where I want it to go. And so if this is hours to do an eye, then you can only imagine what a face is going to run. And so that's the kind of commitment to doing this. Now, it's not, by the way, that I'm not ever going to write a book ever again, because I do have that happening slowly in the background, but we're not talking about that here. We're talking about art. But I feel like I've come to a place where I'm ready to really get back into the art that I put aside so many years ago. And I really do thank YouTube for that, in that there's been this platform to learn from other people who are better at it than I am. Or worse, depending. But there's so much instruction, so much information, so much inspiration that I didn't have 30 years ago. And I presume, well, definitely older, not necessarily wiser now. But I'm not in high school anymore. Physically, definitely. And I'm not trying to prove something to the world anymore the way that I was then. And I'm not as much of a fathead as I was then. Not to say that I'm not a fathead, because I'm totally a fathead. But I'm not in a rivalry to the death with anybody over this, at least not today. And so it's just nice to just do it. Just do the stuff, learn it, and experiment and get better. And anybody who's, especially now with all this quarantine and stuff like that and all the depression that goes with it and everything, when people are looking for something else, like it's real easy to fixate on how terrible stuff is and depression and whatever, and I don't want to downplay the real world problems people are going through as I sit in my nice cozy studio space. But if you have the ways and the means, and the ways and the means are, here's my $3 art pad, here's my 18-cent pencil, all right? Do some art. And totally, this is not a contest in trying to be the ultimate artist. This is about the process. This is about just flowing with it. Draw what you don't have to do eyes unless you want to, but pick something, pick anything. And you're surrounded by all kinds of stuff all the time, whether it's out in nature, or at your house, or anywhere. And so draw that. Draw it terrible. I've done that. I did that at work. I drew my stapler. Okay, I drew my tape dispenser. Just to get into the flow of, this is this object in front of me, let me see if I can capture it. One last thing, there was an artist that said in passing, as he was doing one of those draw while he's talking deals, he said, if you ask me what you should be drawing, I say everything, because eventually you're going to need to know how to draw everything. So if you say, well, I don't like drawing metal, well, then you'll never, like, what if someone's wearing a bracelet that's made of metal? What if someone's wearing, like, sci-fi armor? What if somebody's holding a gun, like you're trying to do some kind of action pose or whatever? Then where was this gun going to be at? How are you going to draw that? And how are you going to draw it well? If you shy away from the stuff that surrounds you now in nature. Like, here's something that I wouldn't want to draw, but I suppose that means that someday I would have to draw like this pencil cup because of this mesh. This sucks. I don't want to draw mesh. But that's the reality on the ground. If one day you're confronted with this scene and it's like, okay, draw that, I'm going to have to draw mesh. I'm going to have to draw a shiny object. I'm going to have to draw needed erasers or this thing. So this is why you do it. This is why you keep the firewall open, and why you experiment, and why you're willing to accept these different challenges. All right? So depending on who you are and where you're at in your life and what's going on, you know what? Every day you have the opportunity to say yes to the new thing. Yes to new experiences, yes to learning. So that's what I'm doing, and this is what you can do too, is what I'm saying. And again, I'm not downplaying other people's life experience. What I'm saying is, if you can, if you're looking for an outlet, if you're looking for new experiences, then art's there. Don't make it about the personalities, make it about what you want to do. So don't say, well, I could never do that. Well, right, you can't, because if you're not doing it, you're not gonna. But instead it's, well, what do you want to do? Well, I want to draw anime. All right, well then get a book on anime or watch anime or look at a picture of anime. There's free photos on the internet of anime. So we're not talking about you have to go out and spend all this money. All this stuff is out there some kind of way. And study it. Study the real, it's like study the people, study objects, study photos, whatever you got to do. But like I said, with this technique of just fixating on one eye, I'm learning so much. It's amazing because you really start to realize all the detail like that you're glossing over or that you're trying to skip out on. Like, oh, well, this is good enough. No, it's not. If something else is in this eye and it needs to be in there, then draw it. Like, what if, because I know that this is the thing, like, I'm not going to do it in this picture, but, like, what if someone's got a contact ring around their eye? Like, how are you going to draw that? Do you need to, first of all? And secondly, if you do, if it's a thing that would be in a photo or something you can actually see in real life is that someone's wearing contacts and you can see that wet edge, how are you going to draw that? Learn, figure it out, look at it, study. So anyway, that's what I've been doing. Okay, I got a tack on here. It's 11:30-ish. I started filming the earlier content about 10 o'clock at night. And I've been going over this picture of Meg's eye. And just to kind of show you what I'm working with. So she sent me this. So this would be like a challenging photo in and of itself, portrait-wise. And that's like in the tank for later. But remember, my fixation is just the eye right now. And then I did eyebrow, partly for the landmarks of what's where. And in fact, looking at this now, I need to make adjustments to the eyebrow. But I have been working my butt off on this since I turned the camera off. And, I'm astounded because this is what I was talking about the default. Okay, the reason why I said the default is that if I draw something, I don't want to change it ever. Okay? I hate erasing because it's like, well, one, my experience with erasing is it doesn't end well, like on newsprint. But, God, these erasers are amazing. Well, I just wasn't getting the angle. It was driving me crazy. And I'm like, well, we got these clues. Like, we got her flipped up eyelash, and it's in line with her eyelid. And there's a lot of information here. But I'm just using one pencil. So it's not like I'm using some set of 100 pencils to get all kinds of gradation and whatever. So whatever I do, it's all coming off of this, and it's whatever this is capable of. Well, I've erased just about all this eye tonight and redid it. I never ever do that. And that's amazing. That's a huge step forward for me. And I think that the results are here. All right. So this is not awesome. All right. It's awesome for me, but I mean, I get it that there's better artists than me out there, and that's cool. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about this. And even now, I can still see stuff that could need some fixing here. But far and away, just in about an hour or so of drawing, just massive improvement as far as what I'm replicating here. My concern is, look at her eye is more relaxed. Not like lazy eye, but what I mean is like, she's not like, oh my God, I can't believe it's not butter. It's her, holy crap, here comes a oncoming car. It shouldn't look like that. So but she has big eyes. At least this filtering could be saying she does. But but the point is, the favoring, so like it's going to be narrower down here, but less so up here. And so getting the lid shape, which again has been messed with whatever she did. Like, I don't know if this is just stick on eyelashes or what the deal is, or if she painted it black or both. But it's like, I just need to fill in more of this eyelid because right now it's like she's had it flipped inside out. And I'm just about there with the spacing. I may have to erase into this one more time till I really get it, and then I have to make adjustments to this eyebrow if I'm going to really leave that in there. But yeah, wow, I'm stunned, and there's still a lot to go. So one last thing. All right, so Meg gave this to me as a challenge. She's like, if you want to do eyes, then here's an eye picture to work with. Um, Well, so I'm not doing commissions. That's not what this is about. I don't do commissions. I'm just some guy derping around with a number two pencil. But there's where we play the what if game. All right, what if this is a commission? It's not, but what if it was? Well, so that means Meg's my client. And if Meg's my client and she's commissioned me to do a picture of her eye in this case, where's the cutoff? Where do I say, all right, client, here's your stuff? All right. So that's another consideration. I mean, depending on what your goals are. I mean, my goal is not to be an artist that does commission. I'm trying to amp up my own skills and just kind of see where it takes me. One thing I want to do is character art of my own characters. I'd love to do that. And so it's not going to happen until I amp up those skills and get there as to what to be able to articulate, or not just articulate, but because I'm doing that now. I'm articulating poorly into the camera what's going on, but to visually depict what I want in my character design. Well, about 10 times tonight, I'm like, okay, Meg, here you go. Here's the finished product. Like, no, it's not, because this is wrong and that's wrong and this needs changing and that needs changing. So, kind of the question is, how good is good enough, and when is it done? Well, at some point you have to make a decision. At some point it's done. And right now, is this just supposed to be just a rough representation of what Meg's eye shape is, or are we going for the gold here of like, this is a one-to-one copy of Meg's eye? Well, what does the client want? She didn't tell me, like, do my exact eye or you're fired. She just said, here's an eye picture if you want to mess with this. But, all right, but what does the client want? Well, I've checked with the client because I sent her an early draft. She's like, oh, this is great. Well, comparatively speaking, it's garbage. But to her, the client, because she doesn't draw to this level, she's like, oh, this is great. Well, hey, that's fantastic. I can give you this and we're done. But for my own self-satisfaction and my own development, I'm glad I didn't say, here you go, client. And that would take the form of just posting on Facebook or sending her a message saying, here you go, here's what I came up with. Yeah, so this is really paying off. I'm astounded. Fabulous!
Yeah.